So when it comes to horrible Pokemon in the competitive scene, Chimeco would be one of the top guys you'd think about, but that'd be giving it too much credit because most people don't even remember that it exists. But to serve some sweet wind chime justice, I'm gonna make Chimeco an absolute monster, and here's how. So first of all, Buddy's stats are just about as mid as it gets. It's got, it's got 95 special attack though, so that's kind of something. What makes this thing completely ruin people though, is its move Cosmic Power. With this, we can boost up our defense and special defense, and after just a couple of these bad boys, the true evil of Chimeco can shine. While we get bulky enough to tank hits that nobody expects, we've even got reliable healing with Recover. The true kicker though, comes with Stored Power. This is a 20 power stab psychic move that gets plus 20 power for each of our stat boosts. With each Cosmic Power adding 40 to this, the Stored Power chime can actually get kinda crazy pretty quick. Other than that, we've got Defensive Terra Fairy that also boosts up damage on coverage and Dazzling Gleam. And the moral of the story is that you should not sleep on Chimeco, because it's time to make this thing a monster that no one sees coming. Alright, look, today is a monumental day because I remembered two things. First, that the Pokemon Chimeco does in fact exist, and two, the move Cosmic Power is pretty damn broken. So we're gonna try to put them together and see if we can make some magic, and also make some people incredibly frustrated. If that sounds like a fun time to you, you should hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. It's free, it only takes you a second, I promise you won't regret it, and with that, let's go ahead and jump into the match. Alright, so my opponent decides to lead off with the Pyroar, which ends up working out pretty good for me. I've got myself the Water Otter. I guess he's not much of an otter once it evolves, but look, we have the Samurott, who's here to slice and dice and then mostly lay down some spiky Legos for them to step on barefoot. So I decided to go for the Ceaseless Edge, thinking maybe they end up swapping here, but they stay in, likely just expecting the Ceaseless Edge, and then they can go for a Hyper Voice, which does get some pretty decent damage. So being Choice Scarf, I'm locked into Ceaseless Edge, but it grabs a kill here anyway if they want to stay in, so I'm going to go continue to do some edging, pause, and it turns out they're going to swap. They're bringing the Tinkaton. Now, looking at the squad, one thing that does stop Chimeco is Steel types, and getting some damage on this thing is going to be pretty useful. Now, it does do a decent amount of damage after that Spikes chip, and I set up another layer in the process, and Tinkaton is, I'm not exactly sure what it wants to do here. Obviously, it threatens me with any type of, fairy damage, but I'm thinking maybe they go for a Stealth Rock here. And the plan is, I can bring in Big Berktha. I go into the coffee table ass dude, expecting maybe a Stealth Rock. If I come in on a Stealth Rock, I'm in a good spot. Turns out, nope, they do just play rough. And while that doesn't do anything, it does now put me in range to not be able to use my Sturdy, and then a Gigaton Hammer absolutely destroys me. I gotta admit though, Avalugg might just be the most satisfying. If you were in the Pokemon universe, Avalugg has got to be the most satisfying guy to hit with a Gigaton Hammer. Just a perfect platform. But that thing's hammer is going to flatten my ass right back to the Shadow Realm. And now I see an opening. You know what? I've got enough damage onto the Tinkaton here where, first of all, I know I can tank hits from the thing, and then I can start to set up in the face of this. At least I think. So, they go for the Skitter Smack, which is a move that I forget exists entirely, which is going to be some bug coverage. Also gets a special attack drop in the process, which is kind of the main reason why you use it. A little bit annoying, but I go for a Cosmic Power, and just like that, we're just flowing in the wind, feeling much more bulky than you'd think Chimeco should be. So I've got a +1 on both defenses here. Main thing is, I need to set up a few more of those. Now I know that thing likely has the knockoff coverage. It does go for the knockoff, gets rid of my leftovers, but that's going to open the door for me to go for a second Cosmic Power. Now, of course, I'm already at half health, and I'm just continuing to boost my defenses, and they're probably like, this is fine. All I gotta do, get some continual chip, and then this random-ass Chimeco really shouldn't be a problem. So as they go for another knockoff, guess what? Nope, I go for the Recover, able to get half of my HP back, and just like that, now my defenses are doubled. Plus, I have 4 stat boosts. I guess we do have the minus from the Skitter Smack, but Stored Power is starting to look strong, and Chimeco is nearly in full form. This thing is honestly not that hard to set up. Cosmic Power has got to be one of the most annoying moves. So I figure, you know what? I'm going to get a little greedy. I'm a greedy little wind chime today. I'm going to go for a third Cosmic Power. Brings me up to +3. I do have that minus to the special attack. And as they bring in the Electros, I'm looking at it thinking, am I afraid of this thing? Answer is no. I'm going for another Cosmic Power. I now have +4 to both defenses. And that's, we're feeling pretty nice here. So as they go for a crunch, gonna be some physical coverage. It does nothing. It literally takes a bite out of me, and I didn't even feel it, which is sick. So now I'm like, bing bong, bitch, I can go for a Stored Power, and it doesn't actually kill. That's because that special attack drop, which is annoying. But now, What's even more annoying is they go for a Thunder Wave. And, you know, I mean, that's one way to just make sure that at least I'm not going to completely have my way with you, is being paralyzed. But while Para is just about the most annoying status condition in Mons, I'm not that mad at it. It means that I can't be, A, put to sleep or toxic, and toxic is kind of the best way around this Chimeco. So, yeah, I'm just going to deal with being paralyzed. I go for another recover here, thinking they just continually hit some damage, maybe get some defense drops. But I get myself back to full, and in comes a Swanna. So, Swanna's going to pull out the Rain Dance here, and that just means that this thing is more than likely going to be a Hydration Rest set like I've used in the past. But I break through the paralysis, and a stored power just completely bops the thing. So it sets up Rain for absolutely no reason, and Chimeco makes him pay for it. So that's pretty damn sick. Chimeco getting a clean one-hit KO like it's never done before. And while we are paralyzed, we're kind of at the mercy of what's going to happen with that. But as they go Pyroar, look at this. They go for a Crunch. It's going to be a mixed attacking one. Like, I've actually used a Pyroar like this if it's going to be a Moxie set. Crunch does nothing. It literally damn near heals me, and I do get fully paralyzed that turn, but that's fine. Now they decide to try on the other side. They go for the Hyper Voice. That does nothing either. Allows me to break through the para. A stored power kills the Pyroar, and that's honestly pretty sick. So look, at this point in the match, they really, with all of the cosmic powers I have and the ability to recover, I don't know what the hell they think they're gonna do. I mean, this is why cosmic power is insane. They go for a Discharge with the Electros. Got the mixed Electros as well. I take it easily, break through the para, kill that thing, and we're just going on a rampage. I've effectively, at this point, made Chimeco the scariest Mon ever, and I didn't even think it was possible. But you know, they've got 3 Mons left. The only thing that resists me is going to be this Tinkaton. As they bring it in, they're going to try to get as much damage as possible. A Gigaton Hammer does literally nothing. In a less satisfying fashion, a stored power does not kill here, and you know that's fine because I can take attacks. I could go for another recover if I want to be truly evil. But at this point, I'm kind of feeling bad. But then as I'm looking at it, I'm like, you know what? This is Chimeco. What am I feeling bad about? This is fine. I do not recover, however. I go for another stored power after they Skitter Smack for that special attack drop. And that is a dead Tinkaton. So, you know, at this point, look, they've got 2 Mons left. One of them being Vileplume is, you know, not the ideal guy if you're looking at a crazily boosted Chimeco, because a stored power, it should be able to bop the thing. But they do still have the Terra in the back pocket. I'm like, all right, let's see what they're cooking up with the Terra. Now, Vileplume is often going to be running the Terra Fire. That's exactly what happens. But it freaking lights itself on fire. But it's actually kind of a satisfying Terra hat. It goes right up through the little mid of the flower. And as they go for the Terra Blast, luckily the rain went away. But the Terra Fire, Terra Blast, look, that's not going to cut it. I absolutely take nothing. And then I go for another recover. So look, at this point, I'm surprised that they've still stuck around. I'm not even gonna lie, I probably would have ran at this point. But now as they probably are just clicking random shit, they go for the Sleep Powder. I am in fact paralyzed, and I can nearly feel the frustration through the screen. So check it out. To speed things up, we're gonna just show you what happens here. I get paralyzed a bunch of times. Stored power finally ends up taking out the Vileplume, and now their final Mon is gonna be a Tauros, which obviously does not enjoy stored power. So check it out. I take a Raging Bull like nothing. I break through the para, and one last stored power for the road is gonna do it. So that is gonna be the end of that one. And Chimeco got the full body bag. Like on it, that may be the first time Chimeco's ever felt that level of accomplishment. And you know that's what it's all about. So with that, that's now gonna bring us into game number 2. Because look, it can be a fluke. You know, Chimeco can just get itself in a position and have a team matchup where it can make that happen. We're gonna see what it can be made of this time. So, you know, if you've stuck around this far into the video, I will ask, hey, hit that like button. It really does help out the channel, and it doesn't cost you nothing. So let's go ahead, let's jump into the match. All right, so this time my opponent leads off with the Gliscor, which is sick, because Big Meaty Claws hates to see an iceberg coming, like the damn Titanic. Now, I go Avalugg here. I can pretty much freely set up Stealth Rock, as I know they're likely not going to stay in here unless that Gliscor, for whatever reason, has Balls of Steel. But they do swap, and they end up bringing out the Jirachi. Now, this is not a guy you see often, but I hate to see this thing coming because Serene Grace, I know I'm going to get flinched by Serene Grace Iron Head. So, as I get up my Stealth Rock, I know that I'm at least sturdy, and I know I should be able to take an Iron Head. As they go for it, check it out, I flinch, because, you know, of course I do. And it also sucks because that does not put me in range to activate my Cussed Out Berry. And I'm thinking, it's not great. I don't really have a whole lot to deal with this thing, but one thing I can do instead is go for a switch into the Samurott here. Now, Samurott can resist the Iron Head, and I should be able to at least threaten it out with a Ceaseless Edge. While I know it's not going to be able to knock it out, I also could use some spikes. So they go for another Iron Head. I'm not exactly sure if this thing is choice at this point. A lot of the time you see, you know, choice scarf Iron Head, which is pure evil, says the guy who's using Cosmic Power Chimeco. But I go for the Ceaseless Edge. I do outspeed, reveals it's not going to be choice scarf there. And I get some spikes, but then they go for a Body Slam, which is also diabolical. While it doesn't end up doing much, they try to roll for the paralyzed chance there. They don't get it, which is sick as hell and surprising. And as I finish it off with another Ceaseless Edge, I'm thinking, hey, that Jirachi wasn't so bad. So, you know, that thing's gone. I don't have to worry about being para-flinched. That is evil. They go for Body Slam to try to paralyze you, and then Iron Heads to just get like a super high flinch or just para chance. So at this point, I am stuck into Ceaseless Edge. I did get 2 layers of spikes up though, which always feels nice. But sadly, this ends up bringing in a Grimmsnarl. Now Grimmsnarl, of course, all my homies hate. But he's got his waist snatched, and I just know he's going to flex on me with some damn screen. So I decided to bring in the Tentacruel, and they go for the Thunder Wave. And that's one way to guarantee that I hate your Grimmsnarl even more. If you're running Prankster Thunder Wave, holy shit, that's incredibly annoying. But I get paralyzed, which sucks, but now they just go right for the parting shot. They don't want to take a Sludge Wave. They could have gone for a Light Screen here, but they decide to just play it safe, get on out of here, pop a Paralyze on some stuff and bail, which I guess you got to respect it. And in comes Hitmontop. So Hitmontop is going to function as their, you know, hazard removal. It's going to be a rapid spinner. He's over there doing his little dance, hitting a little jig on the battlefield, but we know mostly it wants to rapid spin. So while I go for the knockoff, which is great, I get rid of this thing's red card, which is sick because now you can't force anything out. And knowing that a rapid spin is likely coming, I figure, you know what? It feels like it's time to bring in the Bing Bong, dude. I'm going to go into the Chimeco here because I'm thinking, what's the worst that could happen? I come in on a rapid spin, but all I really need is to set up like 2 Cosmic Powers, and then we're pretty good. So it turns out instead they go for a Bulk Up, which I did not expect. Makes Fella a little bit more scary in its crazy deep V outfit over there, but I'm also not that afraid of it. It doesn't have great coverage against me, so I'm still gonna go for a Cosmic Power here and just gonna pull the power from the Cosmos and boost us up a bit. So now they decide to go for the Rapid Spin. They do get rid of my hazard, which is expected, but fine. It does have a Bulk Up, which doesn't really help it against my stored powers anyway, and that's kind of just a free turn to get my defenses up. So after some leftovers, Chimeco looking pretty happy. Pretty happy and healthy. And now I need to go for another one. I do need at least a couple, you know, to make my stored powers kind of do something. So here's the thing. They go for a Baton Pass. Now, I'm going to be completely honest with you. During this match, I did not see what that thing clicked. I looked on my second monitor, looked back over. All of a sudden, Gliscor is out here. So I'm like, oh, maybe they just switched out. Okay, well, they Baton Passed into this Gliscor. It gives it the defense, attack, and the speed boost, which makes the Gliscor quite a bit scarier. But I get up a second Cosmic Power, so am I afraid? You bet your ass I'm not. Now, they go for right for the knockoff. That is going to do over half and gets rid of my leftovers, which sucks, but I take it easily, and I go for another Cosmic Power. And again, this Chimeco has gotten a little bit out of control. Now, one thing to note, I don't see that there's no Toxic Orb on the Gliscor. I don't know what the hell Buddy's cooking with that. But as I go for the Scale Shot, that makes sense. It's going to be a loaded dice set, which is kind of crazy. They go for the Scale Shot because it gives it another speed boost. And even with 5 hits, though, after all my Cosmic Powers, Chimeco is fine. They do just get the 4. It's going to come with a defensive drop, but gives it just another speed boost. And they got the full Sweeper Gliscor, so I got to admit, I respect it. Now, what probably pisses them off is I go for the Recover there, get a ton of HP back, and considering I have lost my item already, the best they can do is click Knockoff, but it's not going to do much. So, thinking that they just go for another Knockoff here, I am going to go for the Terra Fairy. Now, I put the heart on my head. Chimeco looking adorable yet diabolical, and I really don't know what type of coverage this thing might have here. Surely Earthquake is its last slot. Now, they do go for the Earthquake, and this is a testament to how little people see Chimeco. They didn't know about the Levitate, which is honestly hilarious, and that's sick. So now as I go for the stored power, it does not end up knocking it out, which is annoying, but they can't really touch me. They go for another knockoff just for the road, because they can't Scale Shot, they can't Earthquake. Is forced to go for another knockoff. Does nothing. I finish off the Gliscor, which is incredibly satisfying, and look, there is one Mon looming in the back, and that's going to be Heatran. I set this Chimeco up fully knowing that I'm not going to be able to get the full body bag because of that Heatran, but as they go into Hitmontop, I was kind of worried about a Bullet Punch. They don't go for it, and then it just dies to a stored power, which is 6. So I'm like, oh, hell yeah. The more time they waste not going into that Heatran, the better, because they don't know my full coverage here. Now, As they go Grimmsnarl, they go for the Prankster Thunderwave. And that's the second time Chimeco got paralyzed in one day. And I'm like, all right, well, I mean, that just goes to show this thing's a unit. But I do break through the para. Now I've got a nice little stab-boosted Dazzling Gleam, which takes care of a Grimmsnarl before it was able to even get any screens up. So that is what we like to call a big fat W. Now, as they see my final move, they realize, hey, Heatran, they can't touch me with Heatran. And I'm like, yep, you got me there. But as they go for a Flash Cannon, the fun part is I can live it easily, and then I can try to recover, but I get paralyzed because this is the day of Chimeco being paralyzed, and that's just, you got it. Sometimes you got to accept it. Now, as they go for another Flash Cannon, 2 of them is enough to take care of me. So they're probably like, shit, I should have gone into this Heatran earlier, and that's what Chimeco tries to do. You know, the surprise factor truly does go a long way with a lot of these shitmons. So we've done enough work with the Chimeco to where I'm thinking, hey, we should be able to clean this match up, but there's still definitely quite a bit of work to do. So best thing I can go into here is going to be the Iron Hands. Even with an Earth Power, I should be able to take it. I come in, Big Boy's going to be able to activate the Quark Drive via Booster Energy. We get ourselves a nice little attack boost. And now we threaten the hell out of it with a Drain Punch, obviously. And I imagine they probably stay in for the damage with an Earth Power, but they are going to swap, which is kind of scary because in comes Basculegion. Now I was thinking to myself, Basculegion isn't a huge threat to switch in here because I should be able to take an attack. And then I just threaten it with a Thunder Punch. So I'm like, this is kind of fine. I still have a cover for this. I go for the Thunder Punch, and this big old dead salmon has other ideas. They are going to pull out the Terra here, and I'm thinking, oh, you know what actually is a problem? Is a late game Terra Basculegion. Now it goes for the Terra Ghost, and that is because this thing wants to end up boosting up its last respects, which is incredibly scary with a lot of team members dead. Now, they are going to be able to outspeed, of course, because I'm fat, but they go for the last respects. That is going to kill me with the Terra Boots. And I'm like, well, that is a problem. But then as I'm looking at what I've got left, I'm like, oh, thank God I've conserved the Scarfed Samurott. Now, while I imagine this Basculegion has a pretty good shot of being Choice Scarfed itself, luckily Samurott is faster because this fish is slow, which is thank God, because I can go for a Ceaseless Edge now. They're kind of backed against the wall. And a Ceaseless Edge is going to be able to take care of it. And that is great, because that was a little bit of a panic moment there. I was like, hold on, do I just get swept by last respects here? Nope. The Narwhal has different ideas, baby. We can get up even a layer of spikes to go. And now they've got one Mon left, which is, of course, just going to be that Heatran. And, you know, that's pretty sick, because Heatran comes in. Now I'm thinking I can just swap out, come back in for an Aqua Cutter, and then we're pretty much set up. But they decide to run, seeing the win condition was there. And that's going to be the end of that one. So I thought that was also just an interesting match. Had a lot of fun with that one. And look, we got one more. I got one more bonus match for you because this Chimeco, it's really fun to use. I'm not even gonna lie. I had my doubts when I was making this, but then I was like, you know what? This is incredibly fun. So we're gonna keep it rolling. And again, if you've gotten this far into the video and haven't hit the like button, you're dead to me. But with that, let's go ahead and jump into this next match. Alright, so this time, my opponent's going to lead off with the Dragapult, which is great for me, because as I've got Samurott, with a Choice Scarf, I can surprise it with a nice little bop to the face via Ceaseless Edge, and that's going to be great. It's going to give huge damage, and they're going to play it safe. They're not going to leave that thing in there, because, you know, Dragapult doesn't have much business staying in regardless, and they decide to bring in the Fortress, who is a nut. He's a walnut that I hate to see, because, you know, I get some decent chip with that Ceaseless Edge. I take some Rocky Helmet, and then this thing just threatens me, you know, with the Rapid Spin, being able to get rid of that, and I obviously can't touch it. This thing hurts. So I am going to save the fella for later, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go right into Chimeco. Chimeco can thrive in a situation where you can bring it in on a Mon that tries to set up hazards. And I'm thinking to myself, if this goes for Stealth Rock here, which I expect, that's fine. Then it's probably going to Spikes, but they go for a Body Press, which is also still fine. It doesn't really hurt Chimeco. But I'm looking at it like, all right, they probably think I'm going to go for screens or something. And it feels like a good opportunity for them to try to set up some hazards. And then boom, before they know it, I've got 2 Cosmic Powers and I'm an immovable object. So I go for the first one, give myself a little 50% boost to both, and it never hurts. Now look, they go for Thunder Wave with the Fortress. I'm thinking, what the hell is going on here? Chimeco has been paralyzed in every game it's been in, which is insane. Mostly because, like, look, I've played against 1,000 Fortresses in the last year, and I haven't seen Thunder Wave on one of them, and that's just I'm like, please, could I, god damn it, get a game where I don't get a paralyzed Chimeco. Now That's, again, still fine, because that means I can't be toxic, and I try to cope and tell myself that this is fine. But they go for a Volt Switch. They realize they should get the hell out of here and try to do something against this Chimeco. In comes Infernape, and I'm like, ooh, that seems like a pretty good guy to just go ahead and mash with a little stored power. Now, I'm going to Cosmic Power first. We've got all sorts of power on this Chimeco. If it's Cosmic, if it's stored, one way or another, your ass is going to feel the power of this Chimeco. So, I get some leftovers. I'm pretty healthy. I don't exactly know what this Infernape wants to do to me, but what I do know is I am clicking stored power here, and that should be pretty good. Now, as they go for the U-turn, that does do some pretty damn big damage, not gonna lie, which sucks, but something's gonna have to come in and take a stored power. Now, as it turns out to be the Tentacruel, I'm rubbing my little Chimeco non-existent hands together, thinking, please don't get parried. I don't. I break through, and a stored power is gonna kill the Tentacruel. So, we get a crit there. Not exactly sure if it mattered, but regardless, that's gonna be a dead jellyfish. And we're still healthy enough to the point where, after leftovers, I should be able to take an attack from stuff. If it goes Dragapult here, I go Terra Fairy, I live a Shadow Ball easily, and then I can get a recover. But they decide to go right back into the Infernape. They're looking at that U-turn damage thinking, hey, maybe I grab myself some more of that. But Spike's damage is really nice, trying to limit these swap-ins. They do go for another U-turn. We live it with 6 because Chimeco is, in fact, not a wind chime. It's actually a goat. And I live it, which is sick. Now I'm thinking, please do not get paralyzed. Allow me this recover. I will, please. Thank God. We do break through. I get the recover off. As they go into the Raichu here, that recover is going to put me in a spot where I'm looking pretty nice, especially after leftovers. I can definitely take an attack from a Raichu. And, I mean, at least, unless this thing's like some crazy specs. But even then, I think I take an attack. So I'm going to go for the stored power. Main goal is to just get some damage here. Now, they go for the knockoff, which doesn't do much. Does get rid of my leftovers, which is annoying. But I break through, get off a stored power, and it lives. So, we didn't quite have enough firepower to, get the kill. But I'm also thinking I live a T-Bolt here. They go for the Thunderbolt, and it gets the critical hit, and I die, which is so annoying. But look, it happens. This is a more realistic match for the Chimeco. We do a little bit of nonsense. I should have lived there and gotten a recover off, but I was paralyzed anyway, and it probably wasn't going to end well. But what I did do is get some pretty good chip on the Raichu. We got to kill some stuff, and Chimeco is still my goat. So, I decided to bring in the Iron Hands here. Now, the plan here is to beta switch. I'm thinking no way this Raichu stays in here, but realizing with the spikes up, yeah, they go for the Surf, and I get a little bit, I get a little bit greedy there. I'm not even going to lie. I go for the Swords Dance because I'm thinking they probably swap. But yeah, they stayed in, and now with 2 Surfs before this thing goes down, I don't get much health back from a Drain Punch, obviously, because this thing's nearly dead. And now I'm just in range to where Iron Hands likely dies to something like a big attack from a Dragapult. So while we take care of the Raichu, I got greedy with the Swords Dance. I shouldn't have done it. I will admit I shouldn't have done it. But in comes the Dragapult now. I'm thinking, is this thing like specs? I don't know what the Pult is working with. But all I know is an Ice Punch would have been sick. But they go for the Shadow Ball here, and as it approaches me slowly, I do die. So yeah, I should not have clicked the Swords Dance there. I think I would have had enough health to be able to live that had I not taken 2 Surfs. But the game goes on, and it's still got some pretty big threats over there, and we definitely have some work to do. But I'm feeling like this is a pretty good opportunity to bring in the Hisuian Avalugg. Now, I'm going to go for the Mountain Gale. I'm thinking they probably swap here, but a Gale's going to do some damage to whatever. And also, since they don't have any hazards up, I can take advantage of my Sturdy, and I have a Custap Berry to be able to surprise and move first. So I want to try to play my cards right with this Avalugg. So I throw some big old icy balls at this thing's face. Fortress comes in, doesn't do much damage to it. That is fine. A Fortress comes in, and I'm like, I feel like I can bait this thing to stay in versus a Flygon. So I am going to go right into the Flygon here, because I can take anything a Fortress wants to do to me. Turns out to be the Body Press. Does do some pretty good chip, but that's fine, because now I can go for the Flamethrower. They do stay in. We got some roasted walnuts, and that is delicious. So that's going to be a dead Fortress, which is great. And also, they did not get up the Stealth Rock, which is very important for my Avalugg, because it's one of the best ways that I can stop the Dragapult. So as the Pult comes in, I am in danger, and I'm like, since we saw this thing went for a Shadow Ball, it's just going to be a special attacker, and I don't need to really sack the Flygon quite yet. So I can go into the Tentacruel. Now, LL Cruel J is Assault Vest. I'm pretty naturally especially defensive. With an Assault Vest, I take attacks no problem here. Now, as they go for a Dragon Pulse, that does still do some pretty good chip. I'm thinking probably going to be Choice Specs there. They stay in, go for another one, and the best I can do is hit it with a knockoff. I say, hey, knock that shit off. It does not quite knock it out, but it does get rid of its Choice Specs. I get some big damage there, And Tentacruel's best bet is here to just kind of stay in and get sacked. So as I go for a Thunderbolt, I'm thinking I probably die there. I do not. Without the choice specs, I live. But sadly, another knockoff also does not kill the Polt. And that would have been really nice to get that kill there. Because now that means Dragapult gets a free attack on anything. It's just the fastest guy ever. And goddammit, Dragapult is like the bane of my existence. So luckily, we've got it to a point where it should be easy to deal with. And then I'm like, actually, I have the Scarf Samurai. Scarf Samurai comes in so clutch most of the time. I can bring this thing in. I know I'm going to be faster. They no longer have the Fortress to swap into. And now they've got 2 Mons left. As a refresh, what they've got in the back is going to be the Salamence along with Infernape. So I'm feeling like, whatever, I can go for an Aqua Cutter here. I outspeed, knock out the Polt. Probably should have gone Ceaseless Edge, but it doesn't really matter. This just makes it so they can't bring in Infernape. Unless, I guess, Mach Punch. But they do go Salamence. And look, Demence is a bit of an issue here. I'm thinking one thing, though. They surely are going to go for the late game sweep here and go for the Dragon Dance. So in order to be able to stop that, I can hard switch into the Avalugg. And if they do Dragon Dance, I maintain my Sturdy. Not only that, though, but then I should be able to get an attack off once I live an attack with my Custap Berry. A little surprise speedy attack. So they do go for the Dragon Dance. Big fat dragon over there loves to go for the dance, giving me a free show. And I am obviously just going to click the Mountain Gale. Now, one thing that does suck is that they have their Terra still. And now is kind of their win condition time to use it. They got the boosted Salamence. They're going to go for the Terra Fire, allowing them to surely be able to take an attack. And with the Chandelier on this thing's head, Salamence looking pretty spooky. So as they go for the Earthquake, I'm talking +1 Earthquake. Does not do enough to put me in Custap range, which is wildly unfortunate. I also missed the Mountain Gale. Doesn't really matter, but as I'm looking at it here, it kind of sucks. Sometimes you're too bulky for your own good. However, I do have a plan. What I can do is go for my Terra Ghost. That's going to allow Earthquake to be a neutral hit, and with that, I should be able to live it. Not only that, but then be able to put me into Custap range to bop it with 2 Earthquakes. So that is the plan. I go for the Terra Ghost, which is mostly here to avoid fighting attacks, but sometimes you need it just for the neutral hit. And I'm thinking this should be clutch. Now, they go for the dual wing beat, probably expecting either the switch into Flygon or the Terra here. And look, I live it with 10 HP, which is amazing. The dual wing beat is not going to have enough. I can then go for the Earthquake, which also doesn't have enough to kill the Salamence. But knowing that I'm in Custap Berry range, all I need to do is click Earthquake again. We surprise him with a little priority. I pull out the Custap Berry, which is incredibly clutch. And that is going to kill the Salamence. So that is one way around definitely getting my ass beat by a late game Salamence. Whew. And look, that first Earthquake getting the kill would have been much better, because then I could have used the Custap against the Infernape, which we've got a little bit of work to do versus the Infernape, but I think we've got the game relatively buttoned up here. While the Ape should be able to come in and just knock out the Avalugg, all I really need to do is go Scarf Samurai and then finish the thing off. So it comes in, takes some more spikes. Buddy's feet probably hurt like hell. I just clicked the Earthquake here as just a nice little sack. They do go for the knockoff, takes care of the Avalugg, but I am proud of my dude for eating that clutch Custap Berry there. That Terra could have been real bad had I not lived, but you know, the dual wing beat, we were able to clutch it out. And now all I've got to do is bring in the Samurai here, and we just get the dub with the scarfed Aqua Cutter. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be the end of that one. And I thought that was just kind of a crazy end to that game. Some big threats. But that's going to do it. So, lesson learned, Chimeco can be cool. And I know he's a lame Pokemon, but look, he's kind of cool in my heart. So, thank you guys very much for watching. I do appreciate all the support. And I will catch you next time. Peace out.